All right, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back for week 18 of Backyard Bookies. Joining me, as always, my host, Scott. Scott, feeling a little under the weather, but you're gutting it out. We're here. We've reached the end of the NFL regular season, ended tonight, and we have one more game in the college football ranks to pick and break down. We have Georgia-Bama again. I'm sure everyone is just ecstatic to see this matchup again. What do you got for us?
Yeah, no, Georgia-Bama again. I mean, a lot of people would rather not see this matchup again, but let's be real, they're the two best teams all season long. I'm sure we all want to see Michigan play, but they clearly couldn't beat Georgia. They just got pretty much curb stomped by them. And then I think our last podcast pretty much told the tale for the Cincinnati game. They had no chance. I mean, we all knew that. They didn't play anybody all year, so. It's set up for a game like this, so I mean, let's not be too surprised about it. These are the two best teams, like I said, so at least we're going to get a good game out of it. Let's hope. Let's hope it's not like the first time they played against each other, because that was a little bit of an ass whipping. But I think this will be different with a lot more time to prepare. They've already played each other one time. Injuries a few injuries for Alabama. They lost Mechie, so that's a big
loss.
A big loss. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. This time I think we both kind of figured that Alabama would be favored. And I think we were both shocked when we saw the opening line and it was 3 for Georgia. And I was like, well, okay.
We were
here we go.
We were together. We were slightly intoxicated, and we were talking as we were watching Georgia get shithoused. What the line was going to be with all the guys, and we were thinking Bama 6.5, maybe. I
was thinking like Bama 4.5.
Yeah, we were thinking Bama favorite, and then that line rolled out at like 2-3 in the morning on New Year's Day. Oof. And it was Georgia -3, like you said, -2.5, 3. It's been moving. But it's been pretty steady right there. All right, let's just roll back what we did last week as we finished our bowl season regular. Not bad for you last week. Wake Forest Rutgers over 62.5. You missed. Wazoo Central Michigan over 57.5. A miss. Penn State plus 2.5. Miss. Notre Dame shit the bed in the second half for us at -2.5. Missed. Your lock, Kentucky and Iowa under 44.5. Easy lock. Your Utah Utes covered +5, but did not get the job done. Baylor Ole Miss under 55.5. Money, thanks to Matt Corral going down on, the third drive of the game, I think. Kansas State shit-canned LSU in the game that like 6 people watched, maybe. I don't even know if everybody's friends and family watched. Bama -13.5 money, and we took the cheese. We fell for the rat line. Michigan +7.5. No bueno.
It happens. I missed I think 5 out of the first 6, and then got the next 4 correct. So sometimes it happens that way, but it finished off bowl season minus this next game coming up.
Strong.
2-14 or something like that. I think I was about 66%. It's pretty much what I've been all year with everything else. So
professional.
We've been sitting around 60% the entire year, so I'm pretty okay with that. I think I was up 34, plus 34 on
the units
on the bowl season. So can't ask for much more than that. I feel pretty good about my pick. So
yeah, I hadn't managed to have a decent week, even losing my lock. So miss Wake Forest -16. Not only it happens. Wazoo I can't believe Wazoo actually got beat by Central Michigan, but missed that. Arkansas -2.5 money points right there. Notre Dame, like I said, shit the bed for us. Kentucky, easy cover there. Utah got it done, just not good enough. Probably one of the best Rose Bowl games in a while. Rose Bowl always seems to have a good game. I don't know what it is about that stadium. That
it was really a shame that Cam Rising got
injured,
got that concussion in that third quarter, because I think Utah had a pretty good chance of
winning,
of polishing off that win. But
yeah, was it 2 touchdowns?
It looks pretty good for Utah. Next few years, I think he's a true sophomore, so he's at least got one more year. Usually a Utah player stays for 4 years, like old Britton Covey stayed for 25 years, whatever how old he is. But a lot of Utah players stay forever, so he could be here for 2 more years. That'd be really cool.
I would assume, especially with what we're looking at next year in the draft, or in 2 years in the draft, or next year in the draft class, what we're probably looking at a C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young class coming out. you may want to hold off there for that one. Miss Ole Miss, can't win with Matt Corral. I mean, the game was 7-7 for most of the game. Baylor's offense was as pathetic as I thought they would be. But yeah, you just
we never sweated that under, though.
No, never sweating that under. It's 7-7 like the entire game. Kansas State covered, obviously. Bama, money for us, and I also fell for Michigan. So 500 total on the points. Last 2 weeks I was 500. There's just that terrible, terrible first week in the bowl season. But it was an interesting and chaotic bowl season, so there's not much what we can do about that. But let's get into this game. It's a national championship game. We got an NFL playoff next week that we'll dip our toes into on next week's show. But for this week, got the national championship. We are going to do 3 props, the over-under, and the spread. So let's start off with the props. Give me your first prop, Scott.
Yeah, so in the first game, Bryce Young kind of went absolutely wild. I think he threw for over 400 yards.
420.
I think 4 touchdowns, 3 or 4 touchdowns. Kind of just went crazy on him.
421 for 3 tutties.
If it was anybody else, any other coach that was coaching a team, I'd probably think, you're playing against a good Georgia team. You're getting more time. They're going to have more time to prepare for you. But they have Nick Saban. I think it's going to be a lot of the same. And in that game, I think Jameson Williams had 2 touchdowns. And that with Mechie being gone, Jameson Williams is going to be the guy for Alabama. I mean, Brian Robinson he'll get plenty of touches, but Jameson Williams, I think anytime touchdown is going to be almost an auto lock. I think the over/under it's 52.5, so they're guessing at least 6 touchdowns in this game. I think one of those will easily be Jameson Williams. So for that one, I would put 75 on that one. I can't tell you how much it's for. 75 to win. Not 100% sure. I think 75 to win about 50, something like that. But it's minus 155.
Okay, I like that. I like that a lot. My first one, I'm gonna go with. Speaking of first, we're gonna go first touchdown scorer. Interesting game. This takes a little bit of luck. Who wins the toss? What does somebody do on their first possession? My guy Brock Bowers was an absolute problem for Alabama to handle, and he was an absolute problem for Michigan to handle a week ago. He's Georgia's go-to guy, true freshman tight end, absolutely a monster out there. I mean, they call him Gronk Jr. for a reason. He had 10 catches, $139 and a touchdown against Alabama. They didn't have an answer for him. That's kind of a mismatch for Bama as it is. It's probably a weaker Bama team when you look at their back end. The linebackers aren't as great covering. Fantastic front seven as far as stopping the run, moving side to side. Bowers is a mismatch for pretty much anybody. I like him. Stetson Bennett's safety blanket right there. Georgia's getting on the board first. They're getting out early. Did you know in the last 4 meetings that Georgia and Bama have had, Georgia's led for over 78% of the games. And they're 0-4 in those games. So it's a lot of Georgia early. It's a lot of Bama late. I love Brock Bowers get a touchdown here, plus 700. Just great throwing money on this one. So we're gonna sprinkle we're gonna sprinkle a 15 on this one just to get in the end zone first time. You need a little luck, but if Georgia's getting on the board first, I think this is money right here. Don't expect Alabama to be giving up any rushing touchdowns, and Stetson Bennett looked really good with a month to prepare against Michigan, and facing this defense twice. You know what you're looking at this time. You're a little bit more comfortable, so I think this is a good value bet right here for me.
I like it. Yeah, I mean, plus 700 is always a pretty good bet when you have a good player. I mean, it's first time. It means the first touchdown. So
yeah.
You're always gonna get good odds with that. But plus 700 is always pretty good. But for my second pick, as we know, Georgia's defense is pretty damn good. Their defensive line is pretty damn good.
They're very good.
Gonna try and get to the quarterback. But as we also know, Bryce Young is he's a slippery little snake. He can get around guys like crazy. I think he's gonna have to scramble a lot more than he has against other teams with this defense that he's playing. The over/under for rushing yards is 9.5. Ran for 40 in the first matchup and a touchdown. If it was any more than 9.5, I'd probably say under. But if it was more like in the 20s, I'd probably say under. But 9.5, I mean, he could break that off in one run easily, scrambling and trying to see somebody get open. And I think he can easily get 9.5 I'm gonna put 75 to win 60. That's minus 125.
Yep.
It just seems like he's gonna be scrambling the entire game. He's gonna be improvising the entire game, and he's gonna be throwing the ball a lot. I think Brian Robinson's going to get not as many carries as he did in the first game. I think he got like 18 or 20.
He had six. He only had 16 actually in the first game. Brian Robinson.
He might get. I think he'll get less than that, but it'll be a lot of Bryce Young. It'll be a lot of him running around, a lot of improvising, and I can see him at least scrambling, get a first down or something, maybe 2 or 3 times, and I think that'll probably add up to 9.5 yards. So,
I love it.
Pretty easy for me.
Love it, love it, love it. I'm actually on the exact same boat as you. 9.5. Perfect number, minus 125. I'm going to put 55 to win 50. Or no, what did I have? 50 to win 40. 50 to win 40 on this one. Like you said, interesting stat, though. I think he's going to run for a different reason. Georgia's going to play a little bit more contained. Georgia blitzed Bryce Young 32 or 37 times. I can't remember the exact number. I'm thinking it's more 32. 32 times in the first matchup. And that's what carved him up. I'm expecting Georgia to sit back and force Bryce Young to make a decision and not quick reads out there. And I think he's going to get some of those coverage scrambles. Protection breaks down a little bit. Guys are dropping back to covering, and he's in space. He gets in space. He runs for 5. He just tries to make something out of nothing, picks up 5 yards. And he's going to have to do a lot of that, I think. 1 yard run. He doesn't like to run, Bryce Young. He's fast. He's very athletic. For a guy who likes... He's a real dangerous combo. He adds this little Pat Mahomes scramble element into his game. It will be big time for him. It's another threat for a guy. He's very athletic, doesn't like to run, which is what you want to see out of a quarterback that you're developing. It's like, oh yeah, he can run, but he doesn't run. Perfect ad. Like you said, Bryce Young, this feels like an easy number, 9.5. So yeah, 50 to win 40 for me on that one.
I think the only thing is it sounds like such an easy number. And that's
Yeah.
when they get you. So
That's true.
we'll see what happens, but I can see him scrambling 2 or 3 times and easily getting first down, 10 yards, no problem.
Especially if it's a close game. I can see a couple of scrambles, 3. He's a smart kid. He picks up 3 to 5. George, you just got to watch out for that pitch play he loves. He loses them yards when he rolls out and he throws that little backwards pitch on everybody. Yep. We might miss out on some of those yards. So last prop for us.
Kind of just touched on it a little bit. I don't think Brian Robinson is going to get nearly as many carries. For some reason, I just think they're going to be throwing the ball a lot. I think Bryce Young will throw the ball 50 times. Jameson will have 12 catches for 150, 60, 70 yards. It'll be a throwing demonstration by Bryce Young. Robinson got 55 yards in the first matchup. Right now, he is sitting at
65.
Looks like 65 yards. I think that's a little too much for this defense that he's going to be playing. I'm going to put 60 down, and it's 60 to win about roughly 54. It's minus 112 on action. I'm just seeing it's going to be the Bryce Young show. I think Nick Saban has more confidence in him than anybody, and he's shown it why he's the best player in football and why he'll be the number 1 pick probably next year. And I mean, this guy's a stud. He slips around, and you want the ball in his hands. Obviously, we know our Alabama running backs. They're all very, very good. The best running back in football is obviously Derrick Henry. I think he's not quite as good as the other running backs from Alabama. He's good, obviously, but 65 yards against a pretty much low-tier NFL-type defense, sort of, for Georgia.
at least front 4, front 7, just suffocating.
I'd say probably like a 35th team in the NFL type defense. 65 yards is too much. It'd be a throwing demonstration for him. 65 yards too much. 60 to win. I say 54. Yeah. So I think it's a pretty good pick.
This might be the kiss of death. I might be the kiss of death, Scott. We don't talk about these picks. I also have the exact same bet right there. 65 was way, 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 way too high. This is the one that jumped out at me the most. Just looking at, like you said, a game that was completely dominated by Bama. Still only 55 yards for Brian Robinson. He didn't do. He did a ton against Cincinnati, but not against Georgia. Georgia shut down the Michigan rushing attack, which is I would say a better rushing attack than Alabama, if we're being completely honest, at least all year consistency-wise. Georgia doesn't give up runs. They don't let teams run the ball against them. Like you said, elite front four, front seven. These two teams know each other. I think, like Nick, is very, very comfortable with Bryce Young throwing the ball. Now, he may put some wrinkles in there, could get a little more touches than we would like. Only thing you got to worry about is a big one. Brian Robinson definitely can break a home run on us. That's the only thing I'm a little suspect out, but I'm very, very confident in this one as well. I'm going to drop 80 on this one to win 71. Like you said, even in a game that was totally dominated by Bama, he couldn't rack up the yards running out the clock. I mean, it's not like they were resting him. They gave him 16 carries. I expect probably about the same from that. Maybe they try something different. I don't know. I feel like Bama's going to have a big wrinkle today because Georgia's going to give them a different look on defense, and Bama knows they can't run the same shit again and beat them. So very interesting to see. Let's hit the over-under now. It's at 52.5 points.
So, obviously, this is the national championship. This isn't a regular season game. This isn't an SEC championship. There's a little more stakes here. But looking at the last 3 times they played, they've had over-under 50, 56.5, and 63 back in 18, which is that's just a...
Is that a regular?
That's a whole different. Yeah. That's a whole different team, really.
It's a universe.
Bama and Georgia. That's not even. That's four. That's. I probably shouldn't even consider that game. But last 2 times they've had the same score: 41-24, 50 and 56. I honestly think, even though I said it's a national championship game, it's not an SEC championship, not a regular season game. I think it's gonna be a lot of the same. I think each team will score 30. I think the over 52.5 is a pretty much. I think it's a shoo-in. Bama might. I think Bama will probably score at least 35. Hopefully, Georgia figured out a little better way to play them than the SEC championship. They'll probably put up at least. I'm saying 21. Stetson Bennett's not the greatest quarterback ever, but he's shown that he can play in big games, and I think the over. I feel like the over could hit in the third quarter.
Wow.
In the third quarter. So I'm putting 50 down to win, I believe, 45. Yep, 50 to win 45 on that one. It's tough for me to pick an under with Alabama because they're going to put up points. It's just a matter of if Georgia can kind of. I don't know, stay with them. Stetson Bennett can play, elite football that he's shown a few times, but if he can show it in a game like this, I think the over will hit pretty easily.
So Alabama, like you said, pretty good team. They're in this spot, defending national champions. Pretty much a different team though. Georgia's going to bring out a whole new defense against Bama. I think they're not going to blitz them as much. They're going to force Bryce Young to make a decision, make the freshman make a mistake. He may not. He is the Heisman Trophy winner. He's got a fantastic future ahead of him. This number is a little low for me, but I actually really think this game is going to be a defensive chess match. I think Kirby and the defense have locked in, reloaded. They're going to figure this thing out. They're going to hold Bama down. Bama's offense has been very inconsistent. Wasn't great against Cincinnati. They get a lot of yards. They kind of struggle between the inside the 30s. Not great. They're not a high-efficiency red zone team, which is very surprising for the offensive weaponry they have at quarterback. I'm really invested in this Georgia defense. I know it could be a little bit of a, what have you done for me lately? What have you seen on me? But like you said, pretty good job in the national championship game. Held them to 26 points. Obviously gave up the touchdown in overtime. So really 20 points in regulation for Bama. And that team was as good offensively as this team for Bama is. Maybe a little bit more talented at quarterback, but not so much on the outside or at running back. So I'm holding that one. Alabama's defense, like you said, Georgia's offense going to adjust offensively. I think they'll score some more points, but they did score 24, in the SEC championship game. That's probably about right, but I think this game is a 28-24 game, maybe a little less, so that puts me right at 52. I'm going to take the under here. Under 52.5. Nick Saban 1-4 in national championship games against the spread. A couple of those were some pretty big spreads, so he doesn't necessarily blow people out. Doesn't necessarily overscore against people. 52 last year, 16 2 years before that, 26, like I said, against Georgia. So not necessarily blowing the doors off of people like he normally does. So, yeah, I'm going to go 33 to win 30 on this under here. Could be wrong, could be very much overselling, but I think we're going to be in store for a little bit of a defensive showdown.
Yeah, I don't know.
You loving Chase Young? You're loving Bryce Young in the offense. I get it.
I mean, I love Bryce Young, but I don't know. I have no idea what to expect in this game. Just going on our next for our picks in this game. So we kind of talked about earlier in this episode that we were kind of predicting the spread. Maybe I was sitting at probably Bama minus 4.5. You were sitting around 6.56, and it was just a total flip flop. It was a Georgia favorite.
It makes a little sense if you think about it. Really, if you think about it, I mean, Georgia was unanimous number 1 all year. Beat the doors off of Michigan. Could be a little oversell, but let's be honest. Georgia was unanimous number 1 all year, undefeated, and then they really slipped up in the SEC championship game, and that's probably the only reason why we're having second thoughts here on this number.
Yeah, and I'm kind of thinking Vegas is kind of giving us a little mind fuck here. They're like, oh, Georgia, the favorite. Oh, well, of course, we're all going to put all of our money on Bama, right? Because that's
65% of the money.
That's 60. What is it? 65%, 61% on the spread, and then money line is actually
there you go,
kind of down the middle, which is interesting. 54% is on Alabama at plus 120, which is actually less than I thought it would be. I thought it'd be more like in the high 60s, 70s range. I don't know. I think this game is one of my classic. This spread makes no sense, so I take the opposite of what you would assume. Man, once again, we talked about this in the SEC championship game. If you pick Georgia, and you get your ass kicked, like, wow, why the hell did I not pick Nick Saban? Pick Alabama, and they ended up losing. Well, you still feel like you made the correct pick picking Nick Saban in Alabama. So it's really a tough one. Like I said, this is a classic game. I'd pick Georgia minus 3 or minus 2.5, what it is now. But I think I'd rather not feel like an idiot here and go with the Heisman Trophy winner, go with Nick Saban, go with the guy who's been in a national championship. I don't even know how many times, 7+ times.
He's going for 7 wins. He's going for 7 wins.
He's been here. He's been here before, with different players. He's had freshman quarterbacks play. He's had injuries. He's had different wide receivers. He's had different defenses. Like this is nothing new for the guy. And he's playing against one of his old coordinators. So, and there's only been one guy who's beaten him, and that's our guy. So, not Kirby, it's your boy Jimbo. But, yeah, I want to pick Bama plus 2.5. I'll probably pick money line if I'm not gonna pick. I'm not gonna do that.
That's a little spicy.
I'll keep the points this time. I'm just gonna take 55 on this one. Normally, if there were more games to pick, I would stay away from this.
Oh, of course.
Because this is not a game. This is definitely a game I'd want to
enjoy.
Definitely just enjoy and not worry about spread and worry about two really good teams playing against each other. So this is one of my games I'd be really that confident in picking. But I'm gonna take 55 to win. This is about 52, maybe 55 to win 50 just to keep it even.
It'll keep it even.
Tough. This is really tough.
You bet your life savings on the first game.
Yeah, I did, and it's just funny how you kind of get the exact same matchup a month later, and like, oh shit,
things get a little spicy.
I don't know what to do. Things change. History doesn't always repeat itself, and I hope it does. But I think we're in for a good game tomorrow, regardless of who wins. So we'll see what happens.
When I saw this line, I believe I texted, I would put 100 grand on Alabama right now to cover getting points. Like you said, feels like a trap. You feel like an idiot if you bet Georgia and Georgia gets housed right here again. If you pick Saban, you bet on Saban and they lose, you feel like, you know what, we lost. I got good value. It happens. I've been swaying back and forth. This line hasn't really moved much. I was all in on Bama. The more and more I dug into it, I've been a little less on Bama. Like I said, Nick Saban with only a week to prepare, because it is just over a week. 1-4 in national championship games. His last 5 against the spread, not great. A couple of those lines were really, really big that he didn't cover, so not necessarily his fault there. It's his spot. It's Kirby's spot to maybe show up and steal the thunder. Been reading a lot of things. Speaking of Jimbo Fisher, they'll be on the coaches broadcast with the coaching staff. I know a lot of people were complaining about that, but when these two teams have a combined 2 losses, and Georgia's loss was to Bama and Bama's loss was to A&M, you're gonna get the guy in there that actually managed to beat this team. I don't know how we beat this team. Somehow their time and space and laws of physics cease to exist on that night in Kyle Field. I'm taking Georgia. I'm going with the Dogs. Minus 2.5 here. I'm okay. It's not a field goal. Field goal feels like a lot to swallow here. Georgia has reloaded, refocused. I think that loss really set this team straight. They showed me a lot against Michigan. Michigan was a little outclassed athletically. That's not going to be the case today against Bama. But Georgia did more than what they were supposed to do. They beat the shit out of them. They refocused. They really shored up the back end. Bryce Young is the X factor here. He's going to make or break this game. He is your Heisman Trophy winner. He is also a freshman. He is still a young man. He's a kid, basically, out there. I trust Kirby to give me another look. Kirby has actually been very, very good in the playoff. They kind of let that game slip against Bama, but other than that, they were great in the second half against Oklahoma. They were great against Michigan. He's a good coach. He knows what he's doing. Stetson Bennett is walking around with a lot of confidence. Georgia hasn't beat Bama since Stetson Bennett was a 3rd grader. I think tomorrow is the day Georgia gets it done. I don't love this. I'm going to bet 33 to win 30 here on the Dogs. I could be a fool. I'm going to be a fool going down with the ship. I've been on Georgia all year. Bama is probably the better team, but you never know with this offense. The offense has been way too inconsistent for me. They are very beat down at wide receiver. Jamison Williams is going to get all the looks. He's going to get all the looks. Georgia's weak part is their secondary. If you can focus on one guy, it helps a lot. Slade Bolden maybe has a huge game for Alabama. Typical.
Even like I said before we start the podcast, I think if George Pickens can come out like he did last year before he got injured this year, like he could be, he'll be a first round pick this year, regardless of how much he played. He's going to be a first round pick. So if he can get 50, 60 yards, that'd be big for Georgia, and I think he possibly can.
Yeah, he had 2 for 40.
He's kind of a veteran
in the first.
So, yeah,
2 for 40 in the first matchup. It's a lot. I don't want Stetson Bennett to throw the ball as much as he did the first game. Threw the ball 48 times. They were obviously down. Threw this ball 2 picks. I'd like to get the backs involved more. Maybe it's hard to run swing passes and screens against Bama. You can't do that against teams. You got to go vertical against these teams. They're way too fast, way too sound athletically. James Cook is a guy that could be a handful. He is, like his brother Dalvin, he can move. Much better pass catcher, much better route runner as a back out of the backfield. So he's a little bit of an X factor. Plays big in big games. Had a monster game against Michigan. I just reading the stats, looking at this game. It swayed me. I could be swayed wrong here, but I'm going with Kirby and the Dogs.
I mean, just like I said, this is not a game I'd pick normally.
No, don't want to.
So you picking Georgia, me picking Bama. I don't hate either one. This is This is a game to enjoy. I feel like this is not a game to be stressing about. No stats and numbers.
We got 100. We got hundo on this. I got 100K on Bama in real life. I bet my house.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I don't hate your pick. I don't hate my pick. I just want to see what happens. I think it's gonna be a great game. So.
We need a good game. We need a good national championship game. Last year's national championship game. Last two haven't really been competitive, but those are kind of freaky teams. I mean, look at that 2019 LSU team. Probably going to go down as the best offense, maybe the best team in college football we can talk about. I mean, Jesus, legitimately next year they could have 2 top 3 receivers and the MVP quarterback on that team in the NFL. Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Joe Burrow. Not to mention Clyde Edwards-Helaire. There's just countless names on that. And then the Bama team last year may even one up on one day with how talented they were. So expecting a good game. The last time these two teams met in a national championship game, instant classic, overtime game. The birth of Tua. Devonta Smith actually caught that game-winning touchdown. Fun fact. It's in Indianapolis. There's going to be a lot of dread and sorrow in the town. I'm sure the mood is down currently after the Colts shit the bed. So maybe that's making me feel better about this under here. There's a lot less excitement and buzz in the building. The people from the South aren't going to be excited to be in that cold weather either. I'm sure they're going to be well lubricated to try and deal with that. Hopefully nobody freezes to death out there. At least the game's indoors. That's the only positive. For that, I would love to see an outdoor game here. That would definitely favor Georgia if Indianapolis was outdoors. Can't really throw the ball in 2-degree weather unless you're a freak. And I don't know if Bryce Young is quite there yet.
Oh, not quite there yet.
So shorter episode this week. Like you said, a little under the weather. Only really the one game we wanted to pick this week. Give all the attention. NFL playoffs next week. We got a shit ton of games to look at. A lot of great matchups, so should be fun. Again, like this video, subscribe to the channel, let the people know we are growing like crazy, daily content every day, and yeah, we'll see y'all next week.